This video will focus on document 6, what did Brazil export in 2012? Comes to us from the Atlas of Economic Complexity, the Center for International Development at Harvard University. Therefore, we are able to determine, since it is from Harvard, that it is a credible source. So the Center of International Development at Harvard, we're going to use that. We're going to highlight that right there. Now, as we look at this graph looks a little bit different than what we might be used to. And the question at the top of the graph, or the title of the graph, says, what did Brazil export in 2012? Now, to export a product means that you ship it out, that you are sending this to other countries, and this is something that is going to make up part of their GDP. Now, remember from your readings, when you talked about, or when you read about the cattle ranchers and the loggers, they said that their companies and that their products were a viable export that made billions of dollars for the country. Now, looking at that billions, we think that makes up a big deal in their economy. But when we look at it in terms of these other things like mineral products, vegetable products, foodstuffs, transportation, machinery and electrical, metals, chemicals and allied industries, plastics and rubbers, stone and glass, textiles, wood and wood products, animal and animal products, we see that food thing really comes up in this 6%. The cattle ranchers really comes up with only 6% of their exports, and wood and logging industry only represents about 4% of their exports worldwide. So in those terms, it seems that they may not be as a big deal as they make themselves out to be. So when we're looking at this graph, we can use this definitely in an economic way and say that, well, those industries that are being used in the rainforest may not be as a big a deal and may not require as much production or development as they may claim they need. So let's start with number one. What is Brazil's 3 largest exports? Well, it's mineral products at 25%, vegetable products at 14%, and foodstuffs at 13%. Using the information from 5 and 6, discuss the relationship between exports and causes of deforestation. In this case, I think we need to talk about this idea that the animal products and wood products only represent about 10% of the exports. So 10% of exports are made up from animal products and wood products. And that does not seem to be a viable or major segment of the export market. So if we look at it in those terms, do we think that these groups then still have a viable or a good argument to say that they should be in that rainforest developing and using those lands? And this is where we're going to then look at this portion. Should the Brazilian government develop the rainforest? Yes or no? We could say yes, that, well, you know what, they are only using 10%. They are only 10% of the market, but that is could be a big source. Even 10% in a $1 trillion market may provide, billions of dollars, which we've talked about before, trillions of dollars, and hundreds or if not thousands of jobs. We can also use this no portion to talk about the fact that, well, since they do only represent 10% of the population, generally speaking, the export market or the export economy won't be hurt that great in that great of a sense. Only 10% of it's really going to be hurt after all. So we can see that we can use this article as both yes and no causes. Think about it right now as you go through. Try to come up with some of your own ideas. I'm not going to be writing any more of my ideas, but I want you guys to start coming up with your own ideas of things that you can use from this chart in this area. And remember, anything that you put in this area should be a quote that you can use in your paper. If you still have questions about it, it, make sure that you hit us up at todaysmeet.com, and you're going to join one of our rooms, and you can ask your questions in there. We can help you with it from there. Any other questions, just let us know.